Ladies and gentlemen, so today we are going to be learning just a little bit about New Zealand. So first off, before we can really get into the New Zealand part of this whole thing, I do recommend that you get something that you can take notes on, whether it be paper and pencil, your phone, an open Word document, whatever the case may be, but just something that you can take some notes on. There is going to be some information in this video that you're going to want to be able to reference back to further on down the road, okay? So once you have that, we will actually be able to start talking about New Zealand a little bit. Okay, so first off, what do you already know about it? What do you know about New Zealand? What kind of animals live there? Where is it? What is it close to? What do you already know? And if you don't know anything about New Zealand already, that is perfectly fine. But if you do know something, I want you to take a second. You can pause the video if you need to, but take some notes. What do you think? What kind of animals live there? Where is it? What's it close to? Just what do you know? Okay. So, first off, most importantly, New Zealand is an island. It is in the Pacific Ocean and relatively close to Australia. However, proximity is kind of where Australia and New Zealand's similarities end. Many of the animals that you would find in Australia are not the same ones that you're going to find native to New Zealand. As far as mammals go, there are only 4 types of mammals that are native to New Zealand. 3 of them live in the water. Sea lions, dolphins, and whales are all native to New Zealand. However, all of them also live in the water. The only land-living creature that is, or mammal rather, that is native to New Zealand are bats. Okay, you're also going to get some reptiles like frogs and lizards. You're going to get a variety of different birds. New Zealand is known as the seabird capital of the world. And fun fact, a very large number of the animals that live, or the birds specifically, that live in New Zealand are flightless. That means that they cannot fly. So I want you to pause for a second and think, what would make these birds adapt and evolve in a way that kept them from flying? To be able to really answer that question, first off, what is the evolutionary advantage of a bird being able to fly? What can it do? If it is threatened in any kind of way, what can a bird do that other types of creatures that can't fly can? They can fly away, right? That being said, if these birds have developed in a way that keeps them from being able to fly away if they're threatened, what does that tell you about the environment that they live in? They probably weren't threatened very often, were they? So, the question is, why weren't they threatened? And what's changed? So, we're going to talk specifically about one type of flightless bird, the kiwi. And the kiwi is unique in that, like I said, it's flightless. And it has developed and evolved in a pretty decent amount of isolation. It's pretty secluded. It's only found in New Zealand in the wild. And up until recently, it's been doing pretty well. But now the population has started declining, which is always a cause for concern. So the next slide that I'm going to show you in just a second is actually a video that I've taken off of YouTube that will give you a little bit more background information on the kiwi. But while you're watching it, what I'd like you to do is pay attention to the way that it behaves. Look at what it does. Is it what you would normally think of as being bird-like behavior?
We have 6 North Island brown kiwis here. That's the only species you will actually find outside of New Zealand. They're very bizarre, very unbird-like as far as birds go. They evolved in a very isolated environment, and as such, they evolved to have a lot of characteristics that you don't see in other birds. They have a lot of mammal-like characteristics. Within New Zealand, at one point, prior to the arrival of humans, there was really only birds found there. There was only 3 mammal species. Those were all 3 bats. Once humans arrived, it was about 700 years ago, they started introducing a lot of non-native species that had a major impact on all of the native fauna there. In particular with the kiwis, there's stoats, which is a small European weasel, cats, dogs, and various other introduced animals. It's absolutely critical to learn as much about some of these species prior to them getting down to such critically low numbers that there are none left in the wild, because in that situation, once you bring them into captivity, you have no means of studying them in the wild, and if it's a species that hasn't been managed in captivity before, all the husbandry aspects and breeding has not been worked out yet, so you're just starting from scratch. Not knowing anything about their natural biology in the wild really doesn't help you at all for managing them in captivity.
All right, so before we move on, what did you guys notice, particularly about where it went? All right, these birds live on the ground, they can't fly. So what did it do? Where did it go whenever it was hiding or wanting to be safe? Didn't build a nest, didn't go up a tree, it burrowed into the ground, right? So, what's next? What you're going to need to be able to do before the next video that comes out tomorrow is you're going to need to read the article at that first link. It will also be in the information just in case that link doesn't work. It's an article about kiwis. Take some notes as you're reading. Pay attention to what's going on, what's causing the population of kiwis to go down, and also just the way that it behaves as a whole. Why did it develop in the way that it did, and how is that contributing to its current state? Okay, and then if you are interested in any more extra information, those links at the bottom are, like I said earlier, completely optional, but if you're interested, they are more information about the kiwi. If you just want a little bit of background information, or if you get to part of that article and you get confused, some of these links may be able to help you understand what's going on in those links, okay? So that's it for now. Tune in tomorrow to get the next piece of information about our kiwis.